This is a Glitterball podcast. Before we get into today's episode, please remember I'm judging these housemates based solely off of an edit and not as total people. Please don't send them any hate, it's just a game show. It's a brand new era for Big Brother in Australia, and we have a whole new bunch of next generation housemates to talk about. Welcome to a brand new season of Who's Always Watching Australia. From Glitterball, this is He's Always Watching, a Big Brother podcast. Hello, Fishbowl friends, and welcome to the launch impressions episode for He's Always Watching Australia. Yes, the original social experiment is back with a very soggy start. And this episode we're going to unpack all the chaos from an incredibly wet launch live at Dreamworld. Oh boy, that rain was quite the spanner in the works, wasn't it? But we will also unpack my very first impressions on all of our brand new housemates. So buckle up, because we have 12 new housemates, to talk about. I think it's quite bold of 10 to do this, given that we haven't seen Big Brother in a decade. I think overall, if I had to give you my first kind of Cliff Notes version of this launch, a soggy start, but a solid start. This group really grows on you. The live chunk where Mel was sending them in, I'll be frank, that was quite a mess. But once we got into the Daily Show, I was like, oh, no, we're fine. As I said to you in the preseason episode, what always matters the most in this show is the housemates, and this batch, I personally believe, are correct. There's one or two that I don't particularly love, but that's totally fine. You're not meant to love everybody in a Big Brother house. People are going to get on your nerves. It's just how it is. So I'm here for it, and I'm really excited for this journey. Shall we just get straight into talking about these housemates? We're going to do this in the order in which they went into the house. So up first is Colin. And I'm going to be honest with you, I feel like Colin's potentially going to get on my nerves with the fact that every second word is bro or bruv or something of that variation. It's going to do my head in. God bless him, he seems like a lovely soul, but that's really going to get on my nerves by the time we get to week 2 or week 3, because oh boy. I think generally speaking, he's very young, and I wonder how he will look back on this experience and how he introduced himself to the nation. I don't know if it was that solid of a intro when it comes to him talking with Mel and kind of unveiling that he's a conspiracy nut. I think that was the general gist of all of those conversations with Mel, though, that they were quite awkward. But this one in particular, I was like, ugh, this, no. But in the house, he just seems like a ball of energy. I feel like he will be the house's Energizer Bunny. He just seems like he doesn't have an off switch, which I think would be absolutely horrendous to live with, but we get to watch, so I'm fine with that. Up next, we have somebody who I think will quickly become the house's mother, whether she likes it or not. It's Alana. Alana I found very endearing in her intro. I also like that she was not having any of this overly produced nonsense in her VT. I was like, that's pretty great. She comes across really lovely, really down to earth. She seemed like the most grounded of the bunch for the entire night, if you ask me. And I'm looking forward to seeing kind of how she travels in the house. It was interesting. I was watching a little bit of the feed last night, not a great deal, but she seems like she has very quickly become the house's mother and they all really like her. So she could actually, I think, stick around for quite a while, because I don't think the house is going to potentially nominate her, given how they're all loving her. And I'll give you a few more feed tidbits as we go through this, because the fun thing is we have a 24-hour live stream. So you can jump in and check out the housemates at any point in the day, or as when it started, you could just see a static image of the garden. But thankfully, you've listened, Channel 10, and instead you're just muting the audio and at least letting us see them move. Or they were when I jumped in before I went to bed last night. And that, I think, is the happy medium. If you need to mute the audio because they're saying something you're not sure should go to air, that's fine. But let us see some life in the fishbowl, if that makes sense. So that was great. But back to Alana, she just comes across as really genuine and fun, and I'm here for it. I think she's going to be cool. She seems like a cool mum, but not in like a Valley Girl sense, but like a down-to-earth way. Up next, it's our resident surfer chick. It's Coco, whose VT, I'm going to be honest with you, rubbed me the wrong way entirely. I was like, oh, please, can we not? With the surfer girl Byron Bay aesthetic. But I will say I've warmed to her. I think there's more to her than just her surfer chick ways, which I think was very front-facing when it came to her VT. That's the one thing I will say about these VTs, is you really didn't get much of anything out of pretty much everyone. So they could work on that. But I think she will bring calm to this house. There are some fiery, full-on personalities, but I feel like she'll be the one to kind of center them. Maybe she'll even lead a healing circle. Who knows? We will see. The thing is, I don't think there is a housemate in this group that will not be interesting to watch in some way or another. There are definitely some that are going to steal the limelight, but I feel like she's there for a reason, and we're beginning to see it even only a day or so in. Housemate number 4 is somebody I think the nation is probably going to fall in love with, or love to hate. It is Connor. Connor is an absolutely fabulous decision. I really, really like him. As somebody with a disability myself, I love seeing this kind of representation on television, even though totally understand with the Tourette's, it's probably a little risky with a live show, but I think he is absolutely fabulous, because representation does matter. I don't care what you say. And I think he is great representation, because even with the Tourette's, he is very well spoken, clearly does not mince his words, although I will say he did start to get on my nerves with the live feed with the task they are undertaking, which we will unpack on Wednesday, and his overthinking of it all. I'm like, stop overthinking. It is not going to help you in this journey, Connor. It will just drive you a little bit bonkers. Don't do it. It's not worth it. But I really like him thus far. I think he's very gentle, but also kind of cocky. He's a really interesting mix of a lot of different personality traits, and I'm going to be very curious to see kind of at the end of a week where these housemates sit for the nation, particularly Connor. The house continued to get another big burst of energy, because up next was Abiola, who, wow, this was one of the VTs that I was like, okay, we understand who you are from the jump very clearly, very easily. I can see why they put her in there. She is going to be a force of nature in that house. I feel like she's probably going to make her housemates climb the walls, but I'm here to watch it, because I really like how she is just, I am what I am, take it or leave it. I really, really like that energy. I think she's going to be fascinating to watch, but I can foresee that she is going to clash with people that she does not agree with, and I think we might meet somebody that fits in that category a little bit later on. But I think she is just a ball of energy that, much like Connor, is very needed in that house. And I'm very excited to see, will they get on? Will they become this kind of like duo ball of energy? Or will they not? Like, there are so many different bits to this puzzle. And the thing is, we haven't even met everybody yet, because there was 4 blank spots on the memory wall in the living room. So we have a 13th housemate, but we are also probably missing 3 more pieces of the puzzle. So just keep that in mind. We were introduced to the resident heartthrob of the house. Next, it's Vinny. Oh my goodness. He is another young one. And I'm like, okay. He is very clearly in there for the eye candy of it all, because we've already seen on feed that himself, Bruce, who we'll meet in just a second, and Colin are kind of constantly spending all of their time in their underwear. So they've already coined themselves as the underwear brigade. So that's a thing, apparently. Don't know how I feel about that, but he seems sweet. Again, this wasn't one of the VTs that sort of gave me a much of a muchness about who he is. I do worry that maybe he's a little self-conscious. So will we see that throughout his time in the house? Potentially. Will we see him maybe form a showmance? For the love of Christ, no. No showmances. Don't worry, we're going to touch on that later. But back to Vinny. I think he's cute. He's kind. He's obviously going to keep the housemates looking fresh with his barber skills. Funny, though, that the housemates thought he was a stripper. He was like, oh, do I give stripper energy? And I was like, oh, okay. And he has a massive family. I was like, God damn, your Christmases must be a hell of a food bill. When I heard that, I was like, oh my. That's a lot of kids. A lot of grandkids. A lot. But don't you go anywhere, because after the break, we are going to get into the rest of these housemates and meet one of my favorites. I'll see you after this break. Welcome back. It is time to say hello to Emily. I really like Emily. She is one of the ones that I'm like, yes, this is the level of personality and chaos I want from a VT. This is it. She is giving me like somebody from The Office. I get like office drama sitcom vibes from her, and I love it. The Scotch finger bit, how she was with Mel on stage with the question with the would you miss Scotch fingers more or your husband? That is the kind of personality that we're seeing straight out of the gate that I love. So I really do have my eye on her as to whether she will go forward with that or whether she might shrink back because of some of the other housemates. I have good news to report that according to the feeds, she is not fading away, but I do wonder how much of that we will see in the edit. So I'll report back on my thoughts and findings on Wednesday. Somebody who's on the other flip side of that coin, who I almost used their VT and entrance to the toilet break, it was Bruce. I'm so bored of Bruce already. He's giving me nothing. No, not for me. And that's totally fine, but like, next. Boring. I will say we did learn an interesting fact about Bruce on, I think this was on the live feed. He apparently has had too much estrogen and at one point had really developed breasts and he had to undergo surgery for it. So I suppose the lesson there is never judge a book by its cover. Unfortunately, that's kind of my job, because some of the things they might have to say might surprise you. And Bruce is definitely one of the ones that I'm less intrigued by, because on first impressions, he's not giving me much of anything, though. I have to be honest. And every house needs a wallpaper housemate, though, so maybe that is just his role here. Somebody who I would argue is also middle of the pack, purely because his VT was also kind of giving us nothing other than the fact he has a haircut every Friday, is Edward. Now, Edward, I feel like I have seen you somewhere before. Have you been on an episode of Deal or No Deal? Because, fun fact, the online sleuths have already found out that Vinny was on an episode of Deal or No Deal. So, is that where I know Edward from? Because he looks very familiar. Maybe he just has a similar face to somebody else who's been on reality TV. But I feel like I've seen that face before. But he is giving us really nothing of a nothing. Even in the Daily Show portion, when we found out that he's like a 31-year-old who's still living at home with his parents and hasn't had a girlfriend. Like, is that really that interesting? Am I being too harsh? Maybe I'm being too harsh. But to me, I'm like, okay, so you and Bruce are the wallpaper pair. Good to know. Look, that could change in the space of this week, because I will tell you this, those of you who listen to my UK recaps know damn well that my opinions totally changed on those housemates as this series has gone on. So stay tuned, because I have no doubt that these opinions are subject to change. However, our 10th housemate is certainly not someone who is part of the wallpaper brigade, and he is going to be controversial. I can already feel it. I am, of course, talking about Michael, the 49-year-old publisher. I don't know about you, but my gaydar was going off here. Now, I don't actually know whether this man is gay or not, but my gaydar was going, bam, bam, bam. I suspect he might be, but then I could be wrong. I guess maybe we'll find out as the series goes on, because that's the interesting thing, is we don't have an out-and-out gay man in this house. So, unless that is one of the pieces of the puzzle we're yet to meet, in the meantime, we have Michael, who I think is going to be at the center of many of an argument in this house. Either that, or he's just going to shrink into his shell and recline in the corner and be done with it. And I don't know which might work out better for him. I think he is really going to ruffle certain feathers in that house. I'm looking at you, Alana, I'm looking at you, Abiola, I'm looking at you, Mia. I feel like he's really going to ruffle some of these ladies' feathers, whether he means to or not, because you can already see the tension kind of bubbling away. So I will very much keep my eyes peeled on that for the next few days, because apparently it's already all kicked off and I haven't seen that yet. So I don't know if Michael was the one to kick everything off or what was going on there yet, but I will report back once I've done some digging on Wednesday. Housemate number 11 is controversial for all the wrong reasons, and it's Holly, who is our one quote-unquote influencer of the group, even though apparently Vinny is also big on TikTok, we've learned. But Holly is so tightly controlled that this is going to go one of two ways. Either she is going to continue to be the go on, give us nothing girl, or she's going to combust. My money is on that she's going to combust, because we're already seeing her being pushed and shoved by the constraints of the Big Brother journey thus far without their suitcases, because she's complaining about soap on the live stream. So buckle up. I do suspect she might combust within the next 12 to 24 to 48 hours. But she is very clearly the most controlled and image conscious of this group, from the designer outfit plug to just how she was giving us nothing at all in that VT. And I'm like, this is the moment where you introduced yourself to the nation. I don't care if you've got 100,000 followers. This is the moment where you introduce your personality to the nation. What is wrong with you? Because you gave us nothing. You're basically the bland vanilla wafer of a housemate. Look, there's the wallpaper brigade, and then there's this. And she is just, I could take a nap. There's just nothing. And the horrendous thing is she's forcing already a showmance on us with this behavior towards Colin. Enough. You've only been in there 48 hours. It's worse than Marcus and Elsa in the UK. Quit it. We don't want your showmance. You're only going to be in there from 4 to 6 weeks. It's not enough time. Shut up. Just going to take a deep breath. It's fine. But look, the long and the short of it is Holly is probably the housemate that I vibe with the least of this bunch. However, I am glad to tell you that we finished with potentially one of the best for last. It's Mia, who, oh my goodness, is going to be an absolute star. I can feel it. She has just such a lovely, warm, hospitable energy, but she's also not afraid to gossip, and she looked incredible in that power suit entering the Big Brother house. I really, really like her. I think she's going to be great value to watch, and she's not going to be afraid to tell us what she thinks. And we're already seeing the housemates be kind of wary of her with the task that they are undertaking at the moment. So I think she's going to have an interesting ride, but she's going to be great value to watch. And I really, really like her on first impressions. So there you have it. That is all 12 of our starting housemates that have entered the new generation Big Brother Australia house. It's a very weird phrase for me to say because I never thought we would see this show again on commercial television in this country. But he's back! So this is a very watchable group of housemates. And I certainly will be glued to my screen for the next however many weeks because we still don't know. I will be curious to see who Australia falls in love with out of this group. But that's not all, because we met 2 pieces of the puzzle who, if you ask me, I think they'll both end up in the house because I feel like whichever one doesn't go in today, so that's Monday as of time of recording, I think they will end up in later. My vote, if I had to choose out of the 2, and don't worry, I already have voted before I tell you this, is Jane. Jane was so full of energy, so full of sass, so full of quips. She had one of my favourite VTs of the night. That is the kind of energy I love out of a housemate. She also reminds me of Irene out of Home and Away, if you get the reference, which I also love. She is just a spark of energy and enthusiasm for that house. And I don't think that house will know what's hit it. I also suspect that she and Alana will probably get on quite well, or they'll end up being enemies. I don't know. Hard to tell. And then, speaking of the 13th housemate twist, we have Mitch, who he's going to end up as another one of the wallpaper brigade because that VT was horrendous. And he continues to give us nothing in the little "please vote for me as your 13th housemate" clip. Nothing. Like, what? Again, this is your moment to introduce yourself to the nation. And you give us that? You like... I don't know. My mind boggles sometimes at the choices of these housemates and the producers in introducing them to the public. So, if I had to choose for this vote, my money is 1000% on Jane. But I do think Mitch will end up in that house later on anyway, because there's 3 other empty spots on the memory wall. So, keep your eyes peeled, folks, because I don't think Mitch's journey will be over, even if he doesn't go in today. Speaking of connections in the house, though, and who I think may clash or get along, we are seeing a lovely little bromance form between Vinny and Colin. Those 2 on the diary room chair looked very comfortable with each other, which was very, very cute. Also, that diary room chair looks massive when you have all of the housemates in the diary room, although I do wonder how soundproof is that room, because that door looks very, very thin. So how are they going to keep any secrets a secret? That is a concern, folks. That is a concern. But with that, that is your very first look at my thoughts and opinions on the brand new bunch of Big Brother Australia housemates. But buckle up, because I will see you 3 times a week when we talk about these housemates. For this week, we have 2 more episodes. So you will see me on Wednesday and you will see me on Friday. And after this week, we'll reshuffle things because the UK season will be complete and I can kind of take stock of how we need to maneuver with obviously Sundays being evictions, whether I come to you straight after the eviction or what we do there. But bear with me as we figure that out, because fear not, I'll be with you to unpack every moment of this series. If you have enjoyed this episode and want to share your opinions on our brand new housemates with me, you can come and do so over on socials at He's Always Watching Pod on Instagram and Threads, at We Are Glitterball on the Bird app, and you can vote in the polls over on Spotify and on Instagram. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment below the video because the video episodes are continuing for this Australian season. I will see you on Wednesday as we unpack the housemates' first few days in that house and we figure out who Australia has voted as the 13th housemate and whether the housemates will ever get their luggage back. I will see you then. In the meantime, remember, Big Brother's not the only one who's always watching. See you soon.